بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أهلا وسهلا إلى الدرس الثامن عشر. So welcome to lesson 18 inshallah. Let's see what's on the board. So we have a few concepts to cover inshallah in this lesson. I think there are 7. The first one is basically what happens to the verb when you put the an in front of it. So like uridu an adhaba, we saw these verbs in the past. Uridu an adhaba in the last lesson. Uridu an ashraba. But there are some other forms of the verbs that we need to understand as well. Now there are some things that the book is explaining to you in this lesson, but I'm adding a little bit more to it because I think inshallah we'll cover some of the future lessons as well. And some people have been asking, oh, how come you didn't explain this lesson? I think in book 1 there was a lesson that I kind of like skipped. It's not because I skipped it intentionally, well, not because I forgot to do it, but I covered the material in the previous lesson. And if you listened carefully, you would have heard that. I said that I covered the material in the previous lesson, or I said in this lesson I'm covering what's going to happen in the next lesson, so that we have less videos and the process is a lot faster. So I'm trying to do the same thing here, inshallah. Now let's look on the board. We saw the fi'l mudari', right? When it's marfu'. It's marfu'. This is what it looks like, right? Adhabu, tadhabu, tadhabina, yadhabu, tadhabu. Now I just added this in. This is the dual form. The dual form, which I think the book covers in one of the chapters later on, but I don't see the problem with putting it now, inshallah, because I think it's a lot of times it's better for us to see the whole picture. The whole picture, we see the whole thing from at the beginning, and then later on we focus in on little parts here and there as we study it independently. So this is what I'm trying to do, inshallah. So we have, if you want to say I go, it will be ana adhabu, right? And we go nadhabu. What if it's 2 people, both of us? We also use nadhabu, right? So there's no need to put a form here. There is no form. There's nothing here. Alright? Tadhabu and tadhabina. The antuma form of it, antuma, both of you. You will say tadhabani, tadhabani, antuma tadhabani. Okay? Whether it's male or female will be the same. Antuma tadhabani. So there's a female version and a male version here. This version is used for both of them in the dual form. Antuma tadhabani. Also for the third person, yadhabu now. Yadhabu has its own form in the dual. Yadhabani. Huma yadhabani. Huma yadhabani. So you'll say, for instance, Khalid and Muhammad yadhabani ila al-mustawsaf, or wherever they're going to. And if it's the third person but it's feminine, right? It will be huma tadhabani. Huma tadhabani. Huma tadhabani. So notice yadhabani and tadhabani. So you would say Fatima wa Khadija tadhabani ila suq. Okay, and we add this kasra here. Alright. This alif that you see right before it has a name. It's called alif al-ithnain. Alif al-ithnain. Alif al-ithnain. The alif for 2, or the dual alif. Okay, that's this right here. Now, when we go to the jam now, nahnu nadhabu, right? It will be antum tadhabuna, antunna tadhabna, hum yadhabuna, and hunna yadhabna. Notice I put all the signs of it being marfu' in red. Okay, so we notice is marfu' with dhamma, marfu' with dhamma. Now there are 5 specific verbs which is studied, and there's a chapter also that's going to discuss this. It's called the af'alul khamsa, al-af'alul khamsa, the 5 verbs. These are the af'alul khamsa. I'm going to tick them off. I'm going to circle them to you now. Circle them. This is 1. Okay. This is 2. This is 3. And now what they do is, even though there's another 3 right? A lot of times they group this one and this one together as one. So they'll say this is one, since it is the same verb in form, and this is another one. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This tadhaban is the same, exact same verb. Used in a different context, it means someone is referring to someone else. So these are called al-af'al al-khamsa, the 5 verbs. Okay? So whenever it is marfu', these af'al al-khamsa is marfu', we say it's alamatu raf'ihi, the sign of it being marfu' is thubut al-nun, thubut al-nun. Thubut, which means something is thabit, it is firm, it is present. Thubut an-nun, the noon stays on. This noon stays on, this noon stays on, all of these red noons stay on. Alright? These two verbs, this one and this one, right? Whenever it has noon and niswa, this noon right here is called noon and niswa. Noon and niswa. And niswa means like nisa, the noon that is referring to the women. Yadhabna, kazubihunna yadhabna, and antunna tadhabna. This verb, we don't say that it is marfu'. We don't say it has an alamatu raf, a sign of it being marfu'. We will just say it's mabni. It's mabni. Mabni meaning it doesn't change. Mabniyun. It's mabni. Why? Because اتصل به نون النسوة, because noon and niswa is connected to it. Anytime noon and niswa is connected to the fi'l mudari, it's mabni. Now let's go to the other section. What happens when you add something like an, like in the lesson we're doing, in front of it? An. So you would say uridu an adhaba, right? I want to go. Uridu an adhaba. This now takes a fatha. Uridu an adhaba. It's mansub because of with the fatha. The fatha is put on top of on the last ending of the verb. Uridu an adhaba. Hal turidu an tadhaba. Okay. Hal turidina an tadhabi. Now notice what happens here. These are all what? Mansub. Let's not forget that, mansubun. In the anti version, tadhabi, what did we do? We had tadhabina, it became tadhabi. We dropped the noon. The noon disappeared from it. The noon disappeared from it. Alright? It will be over here, it will be yadhaba, right? Tadhaba. In the dual version, these are all dual, right? Again, we drop the noon. Whenever it is mansub, we drop the noon. Nadhaba, okay? Again, with the af'al al-khamsa here, we also drop the noon. The only difference with these two is that we drop the noon and we put an alif in place of the noon. The alif. It's not pronounced, it's just put there as a marker. Right? And we're going to explain why. So again, let's identify the asma al-khamsa. We have one over here. Okay? We have another one right here. We have one. These two combine to make one. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of these verbs, right? We say that its sign of being mansub or alamatu nasbihi. I'm just going to write it here. Alamatu. So over here was raf'ihi, right? Raf'ihi. Sign of it being marfu. And here would be alamatu nasbihi. Alamatu nasbihi. The sign of it being mansub, nasb, is hadhfu noon. Hadhfu noon. Hadhf means erasing, to erase. Right? Erasing of the noon. Hadhfu noon. Alright, you see that? And we'll see examples in the next part of the video. So now that we've got that, the next thing for me to explain is this alif. This alif that you see there. This alif that is put in place of the noon, and we only put it in these two verbs. Okay? We didn't put it anywhere else. So they are all these, the ones that are circled, the af'alul khamsa, we only saw it in this version. Okay? Wherever there's a letter, a specific letter before it, a letter called wawul jama'ah. Wawul jama'ah. So this waw, the waw that comes at the end of these two verbs, I'm going to put them here. They call what? Wawul jama'ah. The waw that signifies the jama'ah. And it's specifically mentioned in what? These two verbs. Okay? Now, anytime there's wawul jama'ah and the noon is erased, you put an alif after. This alif is called aliful fariqa. Alif fariqa. Okay, aliful fariqa. The alif of fariqa, which means to differentiate. The differentiating alif. Aliful fariqati. Now, question is, why is, or let's say, when do you see this alif? When is the alif written? The alif is written anytime it goes after wawul jama'ah. There are some words, like for instance, there are some words that may look like a verb, but it's not actually a verb. And there's some verbs may look like if it's wawul jama'ah, but it's not wawul jama'ah. This is telling you that, this alif is telling you that the waw before it is wawul jama'ah. Now in order to explain that, let me see if I have any space. See where the space is. I'm going to put it over here. You know there's a verb called da'a yad'u, right? You know da'a yad'u, the verb to make dua. So if you wanted to say he makes dua, it would be yad'u. Okay? Wa yad'u. I'm trying to get the penta right. Wa yad'u, yad'u. He makes dua, right? If you see this verb yad'u, right? And this one right here, like hum yad'una, they are making dua. Hum yad'una. Yad'una. They look similar except for the waw, right? So what happens if the verb yad'una becomes mansub and you drop the waw? It looks identically the same. It looks identically the same. So you're not sure which version of the verb it is. Okay? While this waw here is the original waw, right? And where we see in this case here, this waw is actually not the original waw. Okay? This waw is wawul jama'ah. This is wawul jama'ah. So in order to identify that, we'll have to put an alif here, aliful fariqati. That's one reason. Another reason is the jamul mudhakkar salim, like for instance the word mudarris. Let's put Muslim, the word Muslim. Right? When you want to make it plural, what do? You say Muslimuna. Right? Muslimuna. But there are times when if Muslimuna, for instance, happens to be in a sentence where it is a mudafun, and after it comes a mudafun ilayhi, alright? What's it going to look like? It's going to look like this. Muslimu al-madrasa, or Muslimu al-balad. Muslimu al-balad. The Muslims of the country. So what happens to this noon? It is dropped. That's a rule because this is mudaf and it's mudaf ilayhi. So in order to differentiate between this waw and this waw and the wawul jama'ah, so we have this waw which is actually not original letter from the verb, it's just added to show that it's plural. We have this waw which is the original root letter, da'a yad'u, and then we have this waw which is wawul jama'ah. We put the alif al-fariqa. Alif al-fariqati. Alright, so inshallah that would cover the part of the first concept. The next video we'll do examples.